Do you ever feel like your horse is just ignoring you? Like you're trying to reach out for connection. Obviously, this one does not have that problem, but you're like trying to reach out for connection or asking them a question or trying to do something, and they're just kind of like apathetic or disconnected, or they feel like they're like really distant. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, this last weekend, we had a groundwork clinic and it was super amazing. We had a great time and some really cool things came up. And one of the really big ones was that there was a horse that the woman that had brought the horse, her big goal for the whole clinic was to build a better relationship and bond with this horse that she'd had for some time, but really felt like the horse was very distant and was really hard to connect with. And she always said that when she was just sitting, like I am right now with this horse, and she wasn't asking anything of the horse, then the horse would kind of come up and engage. But if she was trying to connect or like coming in for some kind of engagement, that the horse would withdraw immediately. And so she was really hoping to get some skills from this groundwork clinic that would help her to build a better relationship with this horse. So it took until day 2 of the clinic for me to realize that this horse also wanted a good relationship with the woman and also wanted to connect and to be friends, but that she was just, but due to a convergence of factors, including her training as a ranch horse prior to where she was now, that this horse thought that she wasn't supposed to be friends with this woman and that she was supposed to be sort of like on the clock, and she was just being a really good girl and doing what she thought she was supposed to do, even though that was different than what the person was wanting and what the horse was wanting. And so they had this really amazing moment finally on day 2 of the clinic where they really seemed to finally find each other after all this time. And it was really profound and very cool to watch. And it made me start thinking about these horses that are sort of distant and apathetic and hard to motivate and maybe just feel not connected to you. So if that sounds familiar at all, stay tuned. If you're new here, I'm Ruby. I'm a whole horsemanship trainer. I help people to become better stewards for their horses and to build better bonds through holistic practices. And today we are going to be talking specifically about the horse that feels distant or apathetic, but I have a lot of information and resources for relationship building. And I even actually have a new relationship types quiz that I'm just came out with, because I just have found that this has been such a common theme lately, that people are having a hard time with understanding and building relationships. And so that's what we're going to be talking about more and more in these next few videos and today as well. Okay, so if you feel like your horse is sort of apathetic and hard to engage with, the very first thing that needs to happen is you need to get curious about why that might be. So in the case of this horse this weekend, it was truly a training thing where the horse believed, due to her previous experience with humans, that she wasn't supposed to be friendly with people, that she was just supposed to kind of do as she was told. And that we had to, now in her late teens, rewire that training and teach her something new. So if that is your horse, I'm going to have some tips for you in a minute, but there might also be other reasons. So another reason could be that your horse is feeling disinterested or burnt out, especially if they used to be engaged and now all of a sudden they're suddenly not. That to me is either psychological or physical pain. And so looking into that. And then the other could just be that your horse is a big time introvert and that you're coming on a little bit too strong. So we're going to talk about all 3 of those in a lot more detail. So let's start with the horse that has training that tells them that they're supposed to have a certain type of relationship with people. And you're not wanting that type of relationship. Maybe you're wanting a more friendly, warm relationship with your horse. And they think that they're supposed to have this very like business, like serious relationship with people. Can you please move out of my space just a little? So if you spook, you don't clobber me. Thank you, friend. So for that type of horse, what I find to be really beneficial is actually bringing in treats, because we can rewire a lot of very firmly held beliefs by horses with food motivation. Food is actually not the top motivator for horses, unlike dogs. Safety and connection is, but if a horse has been taught to not look for safety and connection first because they're supposed to be independent, or they just have the type of personality that they're just very independent and don't care too much about that, then food can be really helpful. And so in this case, you might use a treat that potentially has a good smell and use it to sort of lure your horse around. So I don't actually have a treat because I don't need one for this horse, but let's just pretend I did. I would show her I have the treat, and then I would kind of lure her until she shows some interest. And I might kind of crisscross both eyes Now she's kind of starting to engage a little bit. And I might just keep kind of crisscrossing both eyes each time, kind of letting her smell the treat until eventually, come on, until eventually she tries to actually follow and join in. And so what we're doing is basically building curiosity and encouraging her to come and like engage with the smell of the treat more so even than the taste of it. So we might eventually give her the treat, but the big thing is really piquing her sense of smell. Another really great one is to just play at liberty. So you might play tag, kind of chase each other. As long as the horse truly doesn't feel threatened and it is playful, this can be a really good way to kind of bring a really serious horse out of their shell and help them to be a little bit more lighthearted, which might allow them to open up to new ways of being together. So that can be a really fun one as well. Okay, so let's say that your horse is actually, they used to be really connected and interested in you and engaged in this relationship, and suddenly they're just not there anymore. What I find a lot of times with these horses is there's either some kind of physical or psychological discomfort or pain. You can do that, but you need to go over there to do it. Yeah, thank you. So in that case, we would look at, is this horse burnt out? Have they been doing too much of the same thing? They're bored. They feel like they're out of their element a little bit. Maybe they're overfaced or underfaced. They're feeling overwhelmed or bored generally is one of the two big ones. And then the other thing that could be happening is that they're having some kind of physical discomfort in their body. And so that could be, come on. That could be generally back pain or hind end joint pain, stifles, hocks, something along those lines. And so you can diagnose that with the help of a vet or even a body worker. A skilled body worker can help you pinpoint and find and then help alleviate that physical pain. But really kind of delving into, is that what's happening? So another example of this is I have another student that the horse was very engaged and they were very close, had a really good bond. And then suddenly the horse kind of started to withdraw. And we realized that this happened right after the horse's a longtime horse neighbor left unexpectedly. And then also they started going to more shows. The horse started going to more shows and we changed her bit. And we had like all of these changes happened in a really short time. And this was a horse that hadn't had a change in a very long time. And so all of this was just very overwhelming to her. And she just was kind of experiencing a bit of burnout. And so we just lightened up. We did more trail riding. We took a little bit more time off and just kind of alleviated some of those stressors in her life. And she's fully back to the way that she was before. So that can sometimes be all that's needed is just a little break or maybe just a little more play or something lighthearted or a trail ride, change the scenery, kind of remind the horse what they love and why they're doing what they're doing. And then the third option is if your horse is really just a big time introvert and all of your snuggles are feeling suffocating to them, which can be really hard to hear. Part of this like relationship types thing that I'm working on developing, and there will be a video coming soon about this, is that we have just like people relationships, right? Like we can be compatible or not so compatible based on what we want and need from our relationship with our horse and what they want and need from us. And so our like base personalities can really have a big role to play here. And if our horse is just feeling overwhelmed by our base personality, if they're a kind of quiet, introverted, slow to warm type, and you are kind of a loud, bold, extroverted, snuggly type, and you like come in their stall and right away there's like all this energy and you want to snuggle and you're trying to engage with them and they're like, whoa, I need to like acclimate just to the fact that you're even like in the building before I can even think about snuggling you. It doesn't mean your horse doesn't like you. It just means maybe it's a little bit too much. So if that's the case, if your horse is just an introvert and you're a big extrovert, you might try just slowing down. So coming into their stall a little bit more slowly, giving them a little bit more time to acclimate to you being there, maybe inviting them to come out of the stall instead of just like haltering them up and going to the next thing, like taking a moment. Maybe even the snack comes back into play here. Maybe you hold a carrot and wait for them to come over and eat it. And you have a nice moment snuggling together before you even put the halter on. And basically all you're doing is just slowing this down to give your horse's introverted brain and nervous system a moment to acclimate to you being present with them. And a lot of times that's really all it takes. So if you want to know if you and your horse are compatible or not, you can check out the quiz I have linked below. And again, there's a lot more resources and information coming out very soon about these 4 different types and compatibility. And until next time, make sure to hug your horse for me.